So good morning. Wow, those lights are bright. I've only had one cup of coffee, so you have to work with me a little bit this morning. I got in late last night. So Mary is 100% right. My roots are here. I spent more than 20 years, I'm going to say probably 25 years or so in this community in marketing and advertising. This is my first time back to the ad club in 6 years since I relocated to the South. And I'm thrilled to be here today. So let me just open up my notes. And what I want to talk about today is a little bit about a brand shift that we've made, and also about creating a different kind of emotional connection with the consumer, with our customer. I want to share with you today a little bit about why I'm passionate about the JCPenney brand, why I'm so hopeful about the turnaround for this brand, and share with you some of the work that reflects kind of a new strategic direction that we've taken. So, but before we get started, I actually, throughout the presentation this morning, have a couple of trivia questions, and I have some JCPenney gift cards. There are, not in the city, but up north, south in Attleboro, I think Marlboro, so around the city there are locations, or you can use them online. So let's, without using your phones, anyone want to take a guess at the year JCPenney was founded?
1902.
That is correct, 1902. So 116 years ago. I have one more trivia question. What does the JC stand for in JCPenney?
James Cash.
That's correct. James Cash Penney was our founder, and the founder of the first store that I'll talk about in a little bit. So we'll come back to some other trivia throughout the presentation, but just to get it kicked off. So let's start with the customer. I think every marketer really has to start with the customer in mind. And so just to frame up kind of a high level who our customer is today, this should help you. And I say she, mostly because over 70% of our customers are female. So here it says 71%, sometimes 72%, but the majority are female shoppers in our stores. She's about 51 years old, heavily multicultural. So you can see here we have a very high Hispanic percentage, but high multicultural overall. And importantly, think about her household income is about $70,000 a year, but nearly a third actually have a household income under $50,000. So kind of frame that up in your mind in terms of how she might be shopping given her household income and any financial constraints. So let me kick off today with a little bit of a personal story for me. So it was about 2 weeks after I started my job at JCPenney in Dallas, and I was commuting back and forth. And so I was in the airport every Monday morning about 5 a.m. for the 6 a.m. flight to Dallas to be in the office by 8:30. And it's like 4:45, I'm waiting for the Admiral's Club Lounge to open and have not had coffee yet, so you can just picture what that looks like. And behind me is another businesswoman, and she taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around and she says, "Hey, I just have to tell you, I love your shoes." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I turned back around, and then I thought to myself, wait a minute, this is a moment for me to kind of test this out. And so I turned back to her and I said, "Hey, do you want to know my secret?" And she said, "What?" I said, "The shoes are from JCPenney." And she said, "You're kidding me." She said, "I haven't been in a JCPenney in over 20 years, which is what I typically hear." And I said, "I know." And we talked for a few minutes, and I said, "You really should check it out. You won't believe what you find there." And we had this great conversation, and at the end, I said, "Hey, and by the way, these shoes were only $19.99. And she could not believe it. She was absolutely amazed. So that experience really stayed with me. And it stayed with me because in that moment, I realized we had this this moment where we could really think about how do we win differently around this idea of people don't know what style JCPenney has. I think everyone thinks about us as a value player, which we are, but there is also a style element. And I think about, you can go to Walmart and get cheap. There's no question about it. But it may not necessarily reflect your personal style. Or if you want style, there's certainly Nordstrom and Ann Taylor and Banana Republic for her and all these other stores, but you're going to pay at a very different price point than what you do at Walmart or at JCPenney. So I realized that I'm a little bit biased, and so this was last summer that this happened. And so we actually went out and talked to women. We did focus groups. We did man-on-the-street interviews. We did quantitative research. And I'm going to show you a quick video clip of what some of the women were saying and how they thought about JCPenney.
When I go shopping, what's most important to me is, I'd say, price and comfort.
Price is a big thing for me. It needs to be affordable.
Comfort is definitely a big thing.
I'm very simple, classic, but still fly with an edge.
I like shopping at Free People, Made Well.
Big Nordstrom fan.
Brands like Zara.
BCBG is my loyal brand.
I like Burberry. So I'm wearing head to toe, I'm wearing something from a specific retailer.
Alex and I are dressed from head to toe in one store. And if you had to guess what store that might be.
Head to toe is from the same place. Everything you see that I'm wearing is from the same place. Oh no. That's hard.
The maxi dress is totally in.
The shoes, I really like those.
I'd probably guess like a Zara.
H&M?
H&M, yes.
Urban Outfitters, or I could guess Bloomingdale's.
Forever 21, maybe?
Shut up!
That's amazing. I'm surprised. Really. That is, I am surprised.
Is the bag from there too?
It's all from the same store.
Wow, this is really nice. This is like one of my favorite cuts.
Yeah, I love that dress, so I would definitely check it out.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, definitely after seeing this, yeah.
I feel like now I would.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Isn't that amazing? That's impressive, yeah.
She actually, that's the first thing she said about your outfit.
Yeah, it is very cute.
Thank you.
So you can see from that video that that element of stylish and stylish fashion really is not connecting at all with JCPenney and with the typical consumer. So let's travel back in time a bit. And our old campaign was, JCPenney, get your pennies worth. And that worked really well over the last couple of years to reframe the value message that JCPenney has, because it was all about value. It was all about the sale of the moment, the coupon of the moment, and it was really nice too because it had our name in it, get your pennies worth. And so it really resonated. And customers reacted to that positively because they got the value message, but what they didn't get was that style piece. And so as we started to take a look at that, how do we express to her that we have the up-to-date trends, that you can get a depiction of a variety of ethnicities and sizes and shapes of people, and particularly women, so that she can see herself in JCPenney. So as we started to think about how do we win and tell her that we have this desirable, stylish merchandise at that incredible value. So we're not leaving value behind. It's part of our core DNA. You really can't leave the value piece behind. But we had to tell her, look, we have this stylish fashion, and we have it both in our private brands, so private brands such as Worthington, Arizona, and Liz Claiborne, but we also carry the national brands that she's looking for. So everything from Nike, Adidas, Levi's, Cuisinart, KitchenAid, Samsung, Fitbit, and the list goes on of national brands, but all at amazing prices. And that's really the secret sauce that is JCPenney. It's marrying that style, brand, and value together. It's kind of who we are. And that's why this spring was the right time to make a shift in how we were communicating that to her with this new marketing campaign. So my experience that I shared with you at the airport was just one story. And as I talked to other people in the company and outside, it was like it kept coming back to the same thing over and over again, which was this surprise factor that they really didn't know that we carried this stylish merchandise. So to be part of the marketing team that could frame this and create it was really what I wanted to do. So when I think about how these stories come about and when people actually walk into the store and how surprised they are, they don't really happen for any other reason than the passion that all of our JCPenney associates have, both for the brand and for our customers and how we take care of those customers. It's a passion that I say is born of purpose. And our mission is really around helping her find what she loves for less time, money, and effort. And it's really those three things. It's that connection and how do we play to that I'd like to focus on now. So as we all know, the world around us is changing and the customer is evolving too. We have to make kind of those simple connections and make them less complex for her. The customer base is evolving from boomers and Xers to kind of the next generation of consumers, which is the millennial. It's a group that's more ethnically diverse, seeks connections and interactions that are different from those of their parents. And these are the customers who grew up with the internet. They don't know, unlike me and those of us of my age, they don't know what it's like to not have a smartphone at their fingertips all the time. It's part of them. They're connected to it. And so we have to change how we communicate. We have to change, and I was just talking to Chris Gayton here about the idea of we have to shift from being a store just for an older woman to being a store for what I call the modern American mom. And how we communicate with her absolutely has to change. So it's not to say that traditional media is obsolete or dead. I actually don't think it is. But we've got to shift our messaging and how we communicate it to resonate with her. There are more channels, there are more messages, there's more content out there for her to choose from, and you have to be in those places that are meaningful to her. So we have to stand up and really stick out with her, and you'll see in a couple of minutes, I'm going to give you kind of a path to purchase for a typical modern American mom, and a lot of it is through the use of digital communications. But first, I think we have to stand out and say, why JCPenney? How do you answer that question? Why would I want to think about JCPenney first when I'm thinking about going to the mall or going to a department store? How do we break out of what I call the sea of sameness of department store advertising? What's that emotional connection to JCPenney that'll get them to the door? So it all starts with understanding her motivations. What motivates her to decide where is she going to shop and how does she show up at that store? So building the connection means understanding customers better than we ever have before. So when we think about JCPenney's history, JCPenney appeals to kind of the American in all of us, is what I say. So James Cash Penney, coming back to our founder, his first store was in Wyoming, and it was called the Golden Rule Store, which I know is a little bit hokey, but it was 1902. But he believed in making money and building a business that could be done while serving the community and offering a fair value to those hardworking Americans. So Americans today are really, it's about that idea of value and hard work and honesty that guided the success of JCPenney stores right from the start. And that's part of our core DNA. So JCPenney is a store that shares those American values, and we respect her money, time, and effort. So today, what motivates her to shop? It's different than 1902 in Wyoming. But there's really three factors that influence when and where she's going to shop. It's about convenience, value, and family. And I want to take a little deeper dive into each of those and then come back to how does that play into our new campaign. So I don't know, 3 out of 4 consumers say that a quick and easy shopping experience is more important than a personalized one. And the number one thing that she wants today is an easy checkout experience. So like if you're at the grocery store, you get everything that you want that's on your list, and then you're forced to stand in line for 15 minutes to check out while your ice cream is melting. That's not a great experience. It's the same in the department store world, which is once she's completed her shopping, she wants to be able to check out easily. So she's really time constrained. She's busy working, spending time, and taking care of her family, and enjoying life as a millennial is really important to this audience. Shopping for herself and her family, it's a priority, but she doesn't have time to waste. So the idea of getting everything that she needs in a department store environment is actually really great for her because she can shop for herself, for her kids, for her home, for cosmetics. She can do it all in one place, and she sees that as a real benefit. And finding exactly what she's looking for is why she chooses JCPenney. So now let's talk about value for a minute. She wants to shop for the style and brands without sacrificing her budget, and she is on a budget. So if we really want to understand this consumer, she is on a budget and has to make ends meet within a certain amount of money. She doesn't want to have to settle because of financial constraints, and she appreciates the options that she has between private brands and national brands, and being able to choose which one she wants during each purchase. So for example, at back to school, which we're in right now, there may be times where t-shirts for the kids or sweatshirts, a private brand is fine, but when it comes to footwear, the kids may want that Nike sneaker, and she's going to make that choice at the store in terms of where she spends on the national brand versus the private brand. So as I think about being a marketer and think about brands today, I think about how they fall in kind of two categories. So work with me a second, but I think about brands being I brands and we brands. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I think an I brand, Apple is a great example. When you think about Apple, what could be more, I call it isolating, than your own music, your own videos, your own podcasts on your own device, and you listen to it with earbuds so nobody else can hear it. That's an I brand. It's all about me, what I want to hear, what I want to watch, and who I want to talk to in my own little closed off way. Then you think about a we brand. I think about Coca-Cola. This goes way back to their roots. How many people here, or I could be dating myself, think about their brand positioning, share a Coke and a smile? That was all about being with friends, enjoying the moment, and it's about that we. It's about being in a group of people. So time for another question for the audience. What do you think JCPenney is, an I or a we brand? I heard somebody. Who said we? Anyone? Right there. So we have a gift card coming for you. You're absolutely right. It's a we brand. Raise your hand again so you can get your gift card. We are a we brand, but the we for JCPenney is about the family. The family is the center of kind of that shopping decision and is the third motivating factor for her. So today, customers think that shopping is a social activity. So when you say, what are you doing this weekend? And someone says, oh, I'm going shopping. They think about that as a social activity like going to the movies or going out for dinner. And in fact, 79% of Hispanic Americans say they shop with someone else, which is much higher than about half of the US population. So when you think about a multicultural customer coming into our stores, the majority of them shop with other people, most importantly, their families. So for the JCPenney customer, shopping is an activity that's influenced by, enjoyed with, and done for her family. We've always been a store for those American families, and in order to win with them today, we have to understand them better than anyone else. So we have to think about how has that American family changed over time? Well, how we define family today is not the same as it was in the 1960s or even back to 1902. But if you think about even in the 1960s, almost 90% of children in the US were living with both parents who were married. And that was the typical American family. Today, there really is no typical American family. It just doesn't exist any longer. Families come in all shapes, sizes, configurations, and 2/3 of Americans agree that however you define family is what makes up a family. So it doesn't have to be even a blood relative. It can be your work family, our school family, or friends who actually just feel like family. And this idea of family is really emotional territory for us to explore. A territory where we can connect with customers on a higher level and really tap into those emotions that people have around family. So to show that JCPenney gets them, we have to make a very different connection and also have to make a really important shift. We have to shift how we're marketing ourselves to consumers today. Our customers have to see themselves and what they value in our brand, and that's really critical to them. Our communications to them have to tell that story of family togetherness and support that's human, that's relatable, and also inclusive, and that's really important to her. So JCPenney stands not just for style and value on that monetary level, but also that intrinsic level that value means what I value as a human being, what I value for my family. And shoppers will always find great value at JCPenney, but we also want them to know that JCPenney shares their values. So we need to show them how each of these three elements of convenience, value, and family can play together in our new campaign. And that was the work that Badger and Winters that Mary so nicely spoke about really brought to life a few months ago with the launch of our new campaign, JCPenney, Style and Value for All, how it came to life. And so it harkens back to our roots, but it absolutely makes us more relevant for that target audience of that modern American mom. It reflects her current life, her attitude, and we're telling stories of that American family and the values that unite us. So to reflect this, we've taken a different approach to department store, I'll call it, whether it's photography or video. We're not using size 2 supermodels, and that was pretty much a department store industry standard. So we've gone to people who look like all of us. They have freckles, they have gaps in their teeth. Some are short, some are tall, some are thin, some are wide, but really reflecting all sizes, shapes, and ethnicities. That was really important to her in our research, is seeing herself in our brand. So to give you a peek into our inspiration for this campaign, let's take a look at this video.
We are all Americans, the ones who woke up and started working. Our streets were not paved with gold, but we kept building them anyway, because we knew there were greater treasures that lied ahead. To us, the American dream is not a dream. It's hard work, and that's the American way. We grew up learning that every penny counts. That's why we value the dollar and what it took to earn it. From the jeans you work in, the sneakers your kids sport, to the washer that works overtime. These are the small things that add to your family values. And you can find them all here at a value that matches. We believe family is what you make it. Big, small, and everything in between. The new American family is yours, and we value that most of all. From the hills of Wyoming to the plains of Texas, from purple mountains to sea to shining sea, we are the great American store for the great American family. JCPenney, style and value for all.
So that was an inspirational video that we did in terms of putting a concept out in front of consumers and getting a read from them on, did this resonate with her or did it not? And it absolutely did. And in fact, what she really reacted positively to was the music bed that we chose underneath it, which became actually kind of our campaign music going forward. So you're going to hear that throughout some of the examples that I show you. So one more question for the room. What is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, when you go to work, when you wait in the carpool line, and before you go to bed? Yep, I think this lady right here. You want to raise your hand again? It's absolutely check your phone. So we do it about once every 12 minutes. Some people more, but at least 80 times a day, apparently, which is a lot. There's no question about it. But to stay connected to our customers, we have to understand the way that she engages, the way she thinks, and the way she shops. So I'm going to walk you through a typical one of our JCPenney consumers. So let me introduce you to Jessica. And I'm going to ask if we could just take a minute and kind of step into her shoes and go through kind of a purchase path that she may get into. So Jessica is a 36-year-old married mom of 3. She works a full-time job, also while managing her real full-time job as the modern American mom. I say that she's the CEO and CFO of her family, and convenience and value for her family is truly a priority for her. So let's step into her shoes as we walk through a typical purchase cycle. So it's Wednesday, any given Wednesday, 6 a.m. She gets up and checks her phone, and she's looking at the weather. She has to see what everyone should wear to work and to school, and she notices that this coming weekend, in fact, I think here in Boston it's going to be this way, it's going to be about 85 degrees this weekend. And she realizes that her kids have grown so much over this past year that none of their shorts and t-shirts are going to fit them this summer. So she knows that she's going to have to go out and solve for that, but she tucks it in the back of her mind, and she's going to deal with it later on. So after the weather check, she sneaks in a little bit of time catching up on the news, looking at the ads in the paper, and taking in her first cup of coffee while everyone else is having breakfast. And an hour later, she's on the road in the car with the kids, dropping them off at school and heading to work, and she hears one of our radio ads.
I want this t-shirt in green and blue. Mom's gonna say no.
At JCPenney, she won't.
And these shorts and the tie-dye tee, too.
When it's buy one, get one free?
I can't have everything. Go, 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 go to JCPenney.
Hurry into JCPenney to get buy one, get one free on select Arizona apparel store-wide. Plus, take an extra 20% off with your JCPenney credit card and coupon. JCPenney, style and value for all. Coupon valid 4/6 to 4/15. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Some restrictions and exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
There's nothing like the legal department to put in a little disclaimer. It's funny that you all get that. So Jessica gets to work and gets her second cup of coffee and checks her email. And in her inbox is an email for JCPenney, and guess what? Shorts are on sale, because we know what the weather is going to be in her geography. And at lunch, she scrolls through her Instagram feed for a mental break and a little bit of inspiration. Once Jessica's back home, she takes a walk to the mailbox, a little bit of me time, and she finds our Arizona mailer and sets it aside in her to-read basket in the kitchen. The very next day, on Thursday, Jessica's back at work, checks her email, and she's waiting for an appointment. She reopens our digital preprint and clicks through to see, okay, what shorts were actually on sale. The weather's getting warmer and the kids are going up a size, and so she adds a few styles to her basket and saves it for later. After work, Jessica stops for takeout, and she scrolls through her Facebook newsfeed to see what's new with her friends. JCPenney's sponsored ad reminds her that she has shorts still sitting in her cart and she hasn't checked out. Later that evening, she's at home and she's watching TGIT on ABC, and she's looking on her iPad and browsing while she watches TV, and lo and behold, one of our Arizona spots comes up on TV.
Buy one, get one free on top to bottom spring looks from Arizona. Plus, take an extra 20% off with JCPenney card and coupon. Get your good times from your friends and your spring style from Arizona. Don't miss out, only at JCPenney, style and value for all.
So the next morning, Friday, we're getting closer to the weekend. She checks her email again when she wakes up, and the email reminder prompts her to mark her Google Calendar with her family shopping trip on Saturday. During the day, she gets a push notification, and it reminds her that our JCPenney Rewards, our loyalty program, that she actually has a balance, and she's delighted to learn that she has $20 for her next visit. Before going to bed Friday night, she comes across an influencer video.
Hey guys, so today I'm partnering with Arizona Jean Co. to show you 2 school and 2 summer outfit ideas. For me personally, I love to wear super simple pieces, so I went to my local JCPenney and picked up a lot of staple items. I like Arizona because it was super affordable and I was able to get every single item at a discounted price for all under $200. So, you know. You can find all these items exclusively at JCPenney, and you can also shop these looks down below, so make sure to check out those links.
Everywhere that I go, everywhere that I be, if you were not surrounding me with your energy, I don't wanna be there, I wanna be anywhere, any place that I can feel you, I just wanna be near you. And yes, I'm a mess, but I'm blessed to be stuck with you. Sometimes it gets unhealthy, we can't be by ourselves, we will always need each other. Yes, I'm a mess, but I'm blessed to be stuck with you. I just want you to know that if I could, I swear I'd go back, make everything all better. Healthy, knows we will all. It's the things that you say, it's the way that you pray, pray on my insecurity. Know you feel me. I know sometimes I do wrong. Hear the words of this song. When I go, I don't stay gone for long. I know it's going on. And yes, I'm a mess, but I'm blessed to be stuck with you. Sometimes it gets.
So you get the idea. She goes through another round of outfits, summer outfits, and Jessica says, oh yeah, I have that mailer that I stuck in my to-read basket, and she takes it out, and it's a rewards passbook, and she puts it in her tote because tomorrow when she goes shopping, she does not want to miss the free t-shirt offer, which is a coupon inside the mailer. So Saturday comes, finally, it's the family outing at JCPenney. She packs everyone in the car, and her mission is to update the kids' spring closet on a budget and just survive the family outing. She outfits each kid with what they need, plus a few things too good to resist for herself. We find that whenever she comes into the store for someone else, she's got to breeze through the women's department just to see what's new. There are 2 items that she needs in special sizes for her kids, and she orders them on the JCPenney app, and she redeems her $20 in rewards. That night, she rewards herself with a glass of wine. I've been known to do that as well. And we reward her with a 20% off digital coupon to come back and see us again. So this is just one customer journey leading up to a purchase. But Jessica represents 53 million active shoppers at JCPenney that we serve every single year. So all of these touch points, and actually many more, come across her every single week. And so it's not just one touch point, one TV spot, one radio spot, one direct mail piece. It's kind of this conglomeration of all these touch points that actually help her motivate her to shop at the store again and again. So just as the media landscape has changed, so too has the marketing toolbox that we use. We're no longer just talking at consumers with our TV and preprints, but we're actively engaging them in conversation with really targeted, or I call it hyper-targeted messages, content creation, and personalization, letting people know that JCPenney not only gets them, but we get that their style and value equation, and that we know that that's what matters to her. That's how marketing delivers style and value to JCPenney. In 2018, we're going to dramatically increase the use of these tools to create meaningful connections with American families. It's time to win at JCPenney with style and value for all. So with that, I guess I'd like to open it up to questions from the floor. I think there's going to be 2 microphones coming up, and would love to interact with you guys and answer any questions that you might have. I see one in the back.
Hi. So I used to live in Houston, Texas, and JCPenney was definitely top of mind. When I moved to Boston, not so much. So what are you doing in terms of marketing around geographies, and is that something that you see a lot of?
Yeah, we do. So JCPenney has about 875 stores, almost 900 stores. We are more heavily populated in certain geographies, like along the south and even up on the West Coast and the Midwest. The Northeast, we are less dense in terms of store population, no question about it. So we do more targeted geographical advertising. You still get all the national pieces, but we do very targeted around the locations that we do have.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much. It's really interesting to see a brand that that we all grew up with and visited potentially many times and have kind of lost track with the brand. So it's kind of exciting to see the new fresh look, the style, value, message. So can you talk a little bit about we saw all the different sort of communication touch points, whether it's offline, online. Can you talk a little bit about how you're looking at that from a sort of a measurement standpoint? Are you maybe a little bit about your attribution thoughts and how you're sort of putting everything together in kind of a holistic view? And again, I know that's kind of the holy grail, being able to see it, because I think many marketers, even some of the innovative marketers, still have siloed ways they look at measurement. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
And we're not really any different from some of those marketers. There are things that are still very siloed. Getting that single view of the customer is really the challenge, I think, for all marketers. And that's everything from how they interact with us socially, how they interact with us digitally, when they come to our website, when they walk into the store. So today, in terms of looking at what produces the biggest ROI for us from a media mix standpoint, we do media mix modeling. We are in the process right now of looking at a unified measurement platform, which I'm crossing my fingers will be implemented by the fall. And so we'll have a different level of measurement and be able to see attribution versus multi-touch versus last touch. Right today we're living in the last touch world, but the idea is to move to a multi-touch. And knowing what combinations for what segment of the customer audience works. That's like the holy grail.
Hi there. It's so helpful to see how you are changing brand perception externally. And I was wondering if you had any tips or advice on how you've done that internally with your company.
Yep. So this was the view externally, but I have to tell you that we have almost 100,000 associates across the country, and whether they work in a distribution center, in the home office, or our biggest population in the stores, this had to actually start as an internal piece before you can start talking about it to the customer. So we actually transitioned, last fall was the last time we ran Get Your Pennies Worth. And actually through the holidays and January and February, we actually did that transition and helped guide our associates through that because they had to be front and center in terms of how they delivered on this, particularly in store or through a call center. And we're not perfect, but we definitely had kind of that internal campaign and education about this. And then certainly we do it as an ongoing. So just to give you an example, every week we do a broadcast to store managers, to every single store, like Monday at 3 o'clock. And we are constantly on that broadcast talking about both the messaging to the customer and how does the team deliver on that in every store, because that's kind of that frontline associate that makes all the difference and can be a make or break. So for me, one of my things when I go shopping, it doesn't matter where I'm shopping, is if I'm spending my hard-earned money somewhere, I just want someone at the register to say thank you. Like, it's a really simple thing, but it goes a long way to feel appreciated and to feel like somebody valued the fact that I spent my money here. So those are some small things that we've been doing, but yes, it started as an internal. We did a huge launch around this campaign internally, and then there's ongoing communication almost every single week about it.
Hi. I love the messaging, style, and value for all. And today you talked a lot about the mom, which makes sense. She's definitely probably your top shopper. But I wondered if there are other consumers that you're focused on attracting and growing your presence with.
Yes. So we have customer segments. There's the modern American mom, but there's a male customer who shops for himself. That is definitely a shopper that we have identified and target very differently. And then there's also an older customer. She's been with us, and I say she again, but she's been with us and shopped with JCPenney for 20 to 30 years. She knows us, she loves us, she's a loyal customer. And how we reach her is very different. We know through direct mail, for example, every time she gets a direct mail piece, she comes into the store. It's just that constant reminder. She's the one who loves seeing the sale preprints every week in her paper. And so we'll really get to balance kind of that older, traditional customer and also what she buys, because the brands she buys is very different. For herself, she might be buying Alfred Dunner and Royal Velvet towels, because those are the brands that she knows and loves, versus Nike and Levi.
Just wanted to thank you again. Excellent presentation. And really, really amazing to see how JCPenney has transformed into sort of a modern brand with its modern approach. One question I had, a lot of the marketing efforts you seem to be putting forward are focused on store visits. Have you noticed online shopping? How has that increased in terms of percentages? And do you have other strategies for that too?
Yeah. So store sales are still the majority of our sales, but online is growing dramatically. So online represents about 20% of our revenue, but growing at double digits, which is great. And so I did have a piece in Jessica's story about how she went online, put shorts in her basket, et cetera. But yes, so we do have shoppers that are cross shoppers. We have shoppers that are store only, and we have shoppers that are online only. And so we have strategies against each of those. Obviously, the cross shopper is the more profitable because we get more visits out of them in total. But there is definitely a very different online strategy as well. And that's everything from search, digital display. I mean, the list, you know the list.
I think the creative looks great. Definitely communicating the style and value. It does seem to be heavy promotional based. How do you find that balance between brand messaging and promotional messaging?
So that was actually something that was really interesting because, and I'll be really honest, is that we just don't have enough money from a marketing budget perspective to do two separate campaigns, to have a brand campaign and then a promotional campaign. And so the question is, how do you marry the two to get the style piece with the value, which is definitely the promotion of the moment? So whether it's a coupon or a sale, we have to be able to marry those two together in order to really be efficient with how we spend our dollars. So it was a purposeful marriage of the two versus two separate campaigns.
Hey, Marcy, thanks for the time. I talked about finding audiences that have both style and value. Mm-hmm. From a media perspective, can you talk about how you're going out and finding those audiences, co-marketing or things like that?
Yep. So I guess a couple of things. One is because we have a database of over 50 million customers that already exist, we know what she purchases, what she's most likely to purchase next, and so we're able to do a lot of targeted. But then we also create a lot of lookalike audiences, and so audiences that could be like her, and serving up those messages from an acquisition standpoint. We do a little bit of co-marketing, but it's probably not the majority of what we do. So when you mean co-marketing through other brands or
brands or
associations,
retailers.
Yep. So less on that side, and kind of more on our own JCPenney.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. I was just curious. I know you talked about having an older consumer persona and then clearly the American mom, but have you ever thought about going a little bit younger? I know the influencer video definitely targets a younger audience, and then even the people in the video in the beginning who were shocked seem to be younger females. So I'm just curious what your point of view is on that.
Yep. So the Arizona brand, which is what kind of this walkthrough was about, definitely targets a younger audience. So Arizona starts in the kids line and goes all the way up through juniors and young men's. But it's not typically something that mom buys for herself. She's usually buying it for someone in her family. And the influencer piece was a younger woman or teenager, because she was we were trying to get out the message that Arizona is cool, that it is acceptable, so that even though kids may not be buying it, or teens or tweens may not be buying it themselves with their own money, they are definitely an influence on, mom in terms of where they're going to go shop and what brands are acceptable to them. So we were trying to come at it from both ways, but it really depends on the brand. The Arizona brand does skew younger. The Worthington brand skews older, and so it just depends on kind of what the communication is.
Thanks.
Marcy, hi.
Where's the person asking? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Bright lights.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the trip out and speaking with us this morning. It's greatly appreciated. I'm interested in the role as a marketer that you see Amazon playing for you guys, especially with the AMS platform launching and seeing a lot more brands who are consumer direct using Amazon, and how do you see their services and their platform?
So, we have this debate internally. I've had it at other retailers I've been with. You either decide that you love Amazon and you're going to work with them, or you're not. The thing about Amazon, from a private brand standpoint, that's a little bit tricky is you can set up your store, you can sell on Amazon, but the reality is they're going to look and they're going to say, oh, those Arizona shorts, those are selling like hotcakes. And then they go off and create something identical at a cheaper price point with their private brand on it. And so they get all the data, they learn what's selling, and then create it on their own. And so you're really in a catch-22 situation. So at JCPenney, we have not started to sell on Amazon. We are investigating other marketplaces, but right now we've taken the position that we're not going to sell on Amazon.
And do you market on Amazon at all in any way?
No.
Hi. Thanks for being here today. A bit of a two-part question. The first question being, who do you consider your main competitors? And then on top of that, if it is the TJ Maxx, the Kohl's, the Burlington, and the Ross stores, how do you see the JCPenney brand differentiating from the others who are going after the same target demographic?
Yep. So you hit a lot of the core competitors. So you get, it's not really department stores like Macy's or Lord & Taylor. It is more kind of the Kohl's, Burlington, TJX, Home Goods, Ross, Old Navy. That tends to be kind of a core group of our competitors. Walmart is actually number one, where you see the biggest cross shop between JCPenney and Walmart, and then Kohl's would be kind of your keys. Like I said, I think with Walmart, you can get it cheap, but you might not get the style component. It's a very different setting in terms of when you walk into the store, the feeling is very different. Level of service, et cetera. So there are some key differentiators there. And then probably the closest is with Kohl's, I think, in terms of, although there are some categories that they are not currently in. So for example, in JCPenney, we have Sephora inside JCPenney. And that has been a huge draw for us in terms of going a little bit younger, modern American mom, being able to get that Sephora purchase. And we're typically in malls where Sephora does not have a freestanding store. So it really works for us in terms of drawing her into the store. The same with some of our other services like salon, having appliances, mattresses. Those offerings aren't at Kohl's, so there are sometimes different reasons why she would come to JCPenney versus a Kohl's.
Hi. Hi. Thanks so much for the presentation. I really liked learning more about the way you're changing who you're representing in your advertising, whether it's ethnically diverse, diverse in size, or the inclusive family model. Can you talk more about what it means internally to have a workforce that reflects that diverse customer and where JCPenney's at with that, and if there's any specific initiatives around improving that, just having those people in the room who actually reflect your customer?
You get the gold star, and I would like a gift card to go to this young lady. Yes, yes, and yes. So one of the reasons and one of the things that I loved about JCPenney when I interviewed there is if you're targeting a female shopper, how do you have all your leadership being men? And so when I interviewed there, what was really interesting, unlike other companies, great companies that I've been a part of, is about 60% of the top leadership at JCPenney was women. Really, really different. I've never been in a company who has had that, but I think it is partly the mindset and a lot of diversity within that group as well. And so that has been a core of JCPenney. We try and hire in our stores from the communities that the stores are in, so it is reflective of that. But there is, and I can't say it's an initiative, it's just part of who we are. So for me, that dynamic is very, very different than other places I've worked because of the diversity. So whether that's the female population, ethnically diverse population, you can go on, but it is part of the core of who JCPenney is and respecting each and every individual.
Thank you.
But you have to have that seat at the table to be able to have the mindset and the difference of thought that comes to the table because everyone comes from a different perspective. You can get kind of that groupthink mentality when everyone is exactly the same. And so what I love is the different perspectives that diversity brings.
And this is going to be the last question in the front.
I guess I have the mic. Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was terrific. And I'm going to buy those shoes. I'm going to go online and buy those Worthington shoes.
I have them in like 4 colors.
So they're great. And they're great for summer and walking around Boston. So when you were talking a little bit about the JCPenney experience, right, the in-store experience, I wonder if, like when you think about families and shopping together, like things like, Target has a Starbucks. And like you were saying, Sephora, I think that's a big draw. But I wonder if there are any other experiences, and I'm going to really date myself here, but I remember going to South Shore Plaza to Jordan's.
Jordan's and Filene's were there, and then they added Lord & Taylor because I grew up down there.
So I would go with my grandmother, and like it was such an experience, right? So I wonder if that's something that, will bring people in, or if there's something underway like that.
So not exactly in the Starbucks. So a number of years ago when Ron Johnson was our CEO and he was really trying to change the JCPenney experience and he had more kind of like shops within the store, there was a thought about bringing in coffee shops into the brand. It never happened. But I think Sephora is one like that where it is more experiential. You come in, you want to play, you want to talk to a Sephora associate about what you're looking for, what you need, what kind of skincare, what kind of color, getting a makeover, all of those things. And you can book online, book an appointment with a Sephora specialist, if you're getting wedding makeup or whatever it may be. And the other one is hair salon. And I know this sounds really crazy, but customers who go to our hair salon spend a gazillion dollars more than the average customer. They come on a regular basis, whether it's once a week, once a month, once every 2 months, whatever their regimen is. And they tend to go into the store. So that experience of that hair salon creates a different connection for them to the brand. And so that is kind of the equivalent, if you will, of like that coffee shop. Okay, I just want to say, everyone here, thank you guys so much. I was thrilled to be here. You're a great audience. I'm happy to be back in Boston, and thanks to Mary for allowing me to come and speak with you. Thanks again.